Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who just sneezed before he hit record. The podcaster who sneezes before he hits record, or, edits it out, clearly. I wouldn't sneeze on you, even would it be auditorily? I don't know. The podcaster saves the sneezes for himself. And a tissue, by goodness, Nana, right? And it's time for the podcaster who, hopefully, I'm like a puffy plus level tissue for your snoozing with all that aloe and lotion or whatever you prefer. However you prefer your tissues, it's time for Sleep With Me, podcast that puts you to sleep. And here's a few words of how we keep the podcast that puts you to sleep coming. And if you're a patron of the show, you support the show on Patreon, or you're thinking about it, it comes with your own podcast feed, a personal podcast feed with all your content in there. So you can listen on the exact same device you're listening to this message on. And everything will just automatically come. You'll be subscribed. So make sure you get help setting that up. Or become a patron and get that great feature at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. And let's get on with the show. And tonight's episode of Sleep With Me is made possible by hard worker Carl W. and Chris Posty Posterson, who edit episodes. Chris Posty Posterson also does our theme music. Jonathan Mann is on the lullabies. I'm at Dear Scooter on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume it so you have access to all our archives and you get updated when new episodes come out. And I want to thank our patrons who support the show on a monthly basis and anybody else that supports the show through other means. Listeners also have a Facebook group where they can support one another. And I want to thank the moderators over there facilitating that. Keith and Laura. Stacy and Sarah, Julie and Jennifer, and let's get on with the show. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a place, a safe place, or a place where you feel safe and where you can relax, where you can take a few deep breaths or, whatever. Actually, you could take whatever breaths you want, to be honest. I kind of take, when somebody someone tells me to take a deep breath, I imagine myself taking a deep one. But I kind of prefer like a shallow wave-like. So maybe it is deep. Watch this, listeners. Couldn't hear it. I do silent breaths on this podcast, but a relaxing breath, however you define that. Yeah, I'm just taking a couple relaxing breaths here as I try to create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, people telling you how to breathe. That definitely keeps me. They say, well, what? When did it all go wrong? I think it has to do with the fact I don't use my that thingamajig, the diaphragm for breathing, they say. All my problems would be gone if I could just listen to all the advice I'm getting about my breath. And when people tell me to stop rolling my eyes, hint. Anyway, I'm going to try to create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake. Your thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, anything, really. It could be something baffling. Or wake-ups in the middle of the night, or changes in your work schedule where you're sleeping during the day, or partners in and out of town, life stuff, whatever it is, I want to help. And the way I'm going to help is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, tangents. I'll be going on more than a few tangents, off topic. I'll be like bobbling topics. And I think I've talked about bobbling bobbles before, but I'll also be bobbling topics and words. Those are the kind of methods I use. I also wear meander wear under my clothing. Sometimes I just wear it around the house. Some people call it lounge wear. I've taken lounge wear Well, this is all on, really, I don't have me underwear yet. It's on the chalk. What do they call that? Where you, the design board? I don't know what it's called because I don't have one. But when I do, I'm going to say, okay, can we infuse that with magnetism? And also, I saw those ads with copper. Also at the airport, some of the water things say they have copper and it does stuff. So let's get some of that in there. Silver too, because that makes it smell better, I heard. And it's got to be comfy and cozy. Okay, you're telling me it's not possible? Well, I'll tell you what, maybe your paycheck's not possible. I need it has to be, I'm talking to myself. Okay, let me get back to the new listeners. If you're new here, I do wear me underwear. I call my underoos me underwear. And yeah, there are still a few places you could get adult underoos. Underoos are, I guess they're just I guess it's just regular underwear, but with prints of your, stuff. It's more like fanaroos. They should fanroos. Okay, where was I? So if you're new here, here's what to expect. Structurally, the show starts with 4 minutes of business. And that's one of the ways we keep all of the archives free, 650 episodes, and keep the show going. If you're new, it's not important. If you're a regular listener, pretty important. Thanks for listening to that first before you, got in, you turned out to whatever, And so that's the start show. Then there's an intro. Intros are around 12 minutes of me rambling, explaining the concept of the podcast, kind of bobbling topics about how the podcast works. And it's a great way to get ready for bed. You could even put it on while you're brushing your teeth or putting on moisturizer. I know that's a big thing. Sometimes I put balm on. Balm your elbows. Do yourself a favor. Try that every once in a while. It's great. When I remember it every biannually, and you say something, say, "Hey, yeah, elbows, here you go." I'm keeping you from being like, giving you some attention. What was I talking? Oh, so the intros are about 12 minutes of me trying to explain what the podcast is. But yeah, it's a warm up or a cool down, an introduction. A few people skip it. Most people listen to it. And, as you wind down, I guess. So that's the intro, a show within a show. I thought I was going to talk about something, and then once I tried to design the me underwear. What is it called? Me underwear. Me underwear is me underwear. That's, I think, I haven't said that in like 50 or 100 episodes. So that's, okay, so that's the structure show, the intro. Then there's a little business, then there's the story portion, and then there's some thank yous at the end. So all told, the show's about an hour, but even though it's an hour long, you don't really need to listen. It's optional. It's at your leisure. You can listen. You can partially listen. You dial it in however you like. You could listen for 1 minute and not pay attention for another minute, then not listen to me, then ignore me, then listen to me, then say, poor Scoots. And then maybe say, man, let me touch my elbow here. I bet maybe you did touch your elbow earlier. If not, go ahead, put your hand on your elbow and say, haven't felt you lately, elbow. Scoots has been giving his different body parts a little attention. You go ahead, switch to your other elbow. I have it resting in my palm, in the palm of my hand. I got an elbow. I think that was one of my favorite Americana songs. I got an elbow in my hand. I think that was on the Emmett Otter and the Jug Band, not their Christmas album. That was it didn't go anywhere, and you can't even really get it anymore. That one was just Emmett Otter and the Jug Band learn about their bodies or something. Turns out, I guess otters don't have elbows, but they didn't write it. I think that might have been Hank Williams wrote that song for the Emmett Otter Jug Band. But that's a classic. Go ahead, go ahead and think about it. Who's Emmett Otter? A famous player in a jug band. I think he played washboard. His mother has a beautiful voice, and his friend was also in the jug band. And then eventually they grew out. That's one day that'll be another story behind the music. Maybe we could do that. Like, I'll look into that. Emmett Otter in the jug band. Anyway, new listeners. What I was saying was you don't need to listen to me. You were like, you're kidding me, Scoots? Really? Your mouth is flowing with mildly topics I would be interested in if there was an extra 14 hours in the day. You'd say, I would wonder what's going on with Emmett Otter. Or if you don't know, you say, I would wonder who Emmett the Otter is, but I can kind of picture an otter named Emmett playing a washboard and singing about a hand and elbow in his hand. His mother may be the one singing about an elbow in her hand. But I guess you'll be more metaphorical because she'll be singing. Anyway, it's not important. A beautiful song, though, if you ever get the chance, like just to imagine it, like I do, that it exists in the world. So you don't need to listen to me. Even though it's a sleep podcast, so you're under no pressure to fall asleep. I'll be bringing the silly stuff for about an hour to give you plenty of time to wind down and to drift off as you wish. I'll be here to keep you company. I'll be here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar cuz, your boar sib, your boar bestie. Really your companion here in the deep dark night to keep you company. As I may have already said, because there is a bit of repetitive to this show. And one of the reasons I do it is because I've been there and I know how it feels, dreading bedtime or looking forward to it and needing it and then saying, WTF, man, where's, like that just happened to me last night. I was really tired. I'm just dealing with this, the tail end of the first week of daylight savings time. And I was lethargic from like 2 o'clock on. And I said, I cannot wait to go to bed. And I usually do my own personal wind down routine, but I cut it short. I didn't read fiction, the book I'm reading now, because I said, I'm too tired. I'm going to fall right to sleep. And this, I thought it was a bird, but I think it was like some laughter off in the distance. And I turned out the light and I got comfy and I said, here it comes, straight off to dreamland. And then I moved around some more and I said, here it comes, right into the arms of right into the cozy clutches of Emmett Otter and the jug band. Okay, let me move my pillow again. Okay, let me just take a breath. Yeah, maybe I move my arm here, pull this blanket. Okay, that's it. I'm ready to go. Real super tired. Let's do this thing. Okay, nope. Okay, well, let me try my side here. And then, then my brain kicks in and says, hey, you're not asleep. But by the way, I was thinking about this. They said, no, please don't start talking. Well, I was just thinking, we got a few minutes here before we fall. No, we don't have a few minutes. I'm beat. I'm about to fall asleep. Oh, really? Anyway, so I don't know if that happens to you at bedtime or if it's something parallel or relatable, but I've been there as early as last night. And so I can relate, and I truly believe you deserve a good night's sleep. And also the world deserves a rested you, the people in your life, the people in your life, they want you to be at your best. They want you to be rested. And the world's going to be a better place if you're out there flourishing. It'll be a better place to live in. And your life will be fuller. And, I don't know. That's just what I truly believe. That's why I keep making the show. I keep putting the work in, is to help. And this is the only way I know how to help. So it doesn't work for everybody. This podcast is different to be concise. So give it a few listens, see if it works for you. It doesn't work for everybody, but everybody says that it does work for us. It's, hey, it took a few tries. And I'm here, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming by. And like I said, I work very hard. I yearn and I strive to help you fall asleep. And if you could listen for just a few minutes, this is a couple of ways we keep the show going. And if you're a patron of the show, you support the show on Patreon, or you're thinking about it, it comes with your own podcast feed, a personal podcast feed with all your content in there. So you can listen on the exact same device you're listening to this message on, and everything will just automatically come. You'll be subscribed. So make sure you get help setting that up, or become a patron and get that great feature at sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. And let's get on with the show. All right, so here we are talking about Series 1, Episode 13, The Parting of the Ways. And not Waze, the app, W-A-Z-E, W-A-Y-S, like our ways are parting. So that's a great traffic app. So this is going to be the last Doctor Who episode for a little while. I'm going to definitely go back. I haven't decided if I'm going to jump all the way to the most recent series or go to Series 2 or Season 2 and Season whatever, 11, I think. But after this, we're going to do a couple different, we're going to do a run of a season of a series that's going to be a surprise. And then we'll do some TNG episodes, a short run of TNG. And then we'll probably go back to Doctor Who, because I don't know, I don't think that 2018 has any Game of Thrones coming out. So we'll be parting ways with Doctor Who shortly, unless there's some, I think. At least that's what I'm planning on currently. So this episode starts with, and it's been wonderful. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Rose, Mickey. Yeah, Jack, sorry I judged you on that first episode. Now I'd like to be your best friend. But actually, I preferred if you were best friends with the Doctor, because just cooler. But, maybe I'll catch up with some Torchwood at some point. But, yeah, it's been great. So this episode opens with a recap of Bad Wolf. And then we see a big UFO. And there's the Daleks in there. I said it before I knew it, Daleks. And they're telling Rose to predict what the Doctor was going to do, the Doctor's actions. The Daleks are moving around like, oh boy, Doctor's coming. And Rose is like, I don't know. And anyways, it wouldn't even tell you. And they're all like, predict. And then they say, oh, no, TARDIS is in flight detected. And then we see this TARDIS spinning through space. What does this say? Mary, Mrs. No Dice. But they say, hey, let's, the Daleks say, take out that TARDIS, you dudes. And do that. All the Daleks say, hey, there's comics on that TARDIS. Just take it out. And Rose goes, you can't take the comics out of the TARDIS without taking the TARDIS out of the comics. And the Dalek says, you have predicted correctly. Then we're on the TARDIS, or in the TARDIS. And Jack says, don't worry, the extrapolators are working. Forfek, far, the next trick gold. That's what my handwriting says. But he says, fully functioning force fields. Try to say that when you're drunk. And the Doctor says, and for my next trick. And then the Dalek starts to appear then the TARDIS appears on the Dalek ship. We see Jack in an action mode. Rose's hair gets blown by the wind. And then she's surrounded by the Dalek, like it appears around her, but also around one of the Daleks. And Jack says, get down. And he says, hey, bye-bye, Dalek, the one Dalek. And the Doctor and the Rose give each other a giant hug. Big hugs. I could say more of an embrace. Rose goes, feels like I haven't seen you in years. And the Doctor goes, told you I'd come and get you. And Rose says, I never doubted it. And the Doctor says, she said, I did. You okay? Rose goes, yeah. And then the Doctor's like, oh, never been better. Then Jack, he's like, hey, how about a hug? And she goes, get over here. And he goes, I met the Doctor. And Then they laugh. Hardy har har. He goes, welcome back. Rose goes, I never thought I'd see you again. And he goes, well, I'm a one-shot wonder. That was that gun that took out the Dalek. And then they're outside. All the Daleks are surrounding around the TARDIS and wondering what to do. And then the Emperor says, patience, my brethren. Let's see what else I said. Chin wagging. That's coming up. Clears dirt off. Doctor also, Rose, what did this? Somebody cleared off the dust off of somebody's jacket. I would say that was the dust. Rose cleaned the dust off the doctor's jacket. Then, what does this say? Exposition. Oh, that's what that says. Exposition. Yeah, the doctor gets off and he has to do some exposition for the Daleks and for Rose. Because he's going to say, well, how come they're extinct? And Jack says, 1 minute they were there, then they're gone. And the doctor goes, yeah, they were off fighting the Time War. And Jack goes, well, that was just a legend. This is on the TARDIS, if actually. And doctor goes, yeah. He goes, I thought they were all gone, along with all the Time Lords. And I thought it was worth it. Now it turns out it wasn't worth it. And Rose goes, there's thousands, and we could only stop one. What are we going to do? And then that's when the doctor says, let's just not sit around here chin-wagging. Human race, you'd gossip all day. Let's go and meet the neighbors. He's in a chipper mood briefly. And Rose goes, you can't just go out there. And then all the Daleks say, hey, let's take the doctor out in his comics. He's probably got comics in, but they're surrounded by the force field from the surfboard or whatever. The extrapolator. Let's see. Nut pants force. I wonder what that means. Daleks, that's what my handwriting says. Doctor goes out, lots of Dalek, talk, not pants force. Fiend, Dr. Stone. Chanting music in background. Twix, Dalek eyes. I'll go through it, don't worry. They survived through me. Darkness reveals and music reaches new peaks. So doctor comes out, hey, force field, null points. Jack says, it's not going to last forever. Doctor goes, nice job, brilliant. Jack goes, sorry. And then the doctor, he brags on he goes, hey, you know what they call me on the Dalek homeland? The oncoming storm. He goes, I can see it in your eye cameras that you're nervous. He goes, when I make eye contact with you. He goes, anyway, how'd you get through the Time War? And then that voice, which is the Emperor Dalek, says, they survived through me, which isn't that different than Cricket Tones. And then, the darkness reveals this giant robo Dalek, just with a bigger ride. He says, just pimp my ride. And the doctor looks up, Emperor of the Daleks, everybody, meet the Emperor of the Daleks. And the Dalek starts to go, yeah, you thought you beat us, Doctor, but I got out of there, and my ship fell through time. And the doctor goes, I get it, bro, but we got to move on. And 3 different Daleks say, do not interrupt, do not interrupt, do not interrupt. And the doctor goes, I think you're forgetting something. I'm the doctor. And I go, that's all I do is talk 5 billion languages, and no one's going to stop me. And he kind of does makes it tries to do a 2 for flinching on the Daleks. And then the doctor goes, okay, okie dokie, where were we? Take it from the top, Emperor. And the Emperor tries to return to the dramatic thing. Deep in dark space, rebuilt through centuries, infiltrated Earth. With the planet getting, letting them develop comic books, but then planning on dispossessing them of comic books. And he goes, he goes, I actually was the cause of comics and it will be the end of comics. Oh, the irony. And the doctor says, so you created a world of comic book lovers, and you created a deep seed inside your Dalek army of comic book, self-flagellating comic love or something. He goes, so all your Daleks are comic book lovers. And they say, no. The emperor says, this is blasphemy. And then all the Daleks say, blasphemy, blasphemy, blasphemy. And the emperor says, this is pure anti-comic. He goes, these are no, this is pure uncomic book. He goes, this is just like DARE. He goes, return to the 80s. He starts talking about, Reagan. I said, what? Reaganomics? I don't know what you're talking about. And then the doctor is kind of stunned. He goes, when did Daleks have a belief system that had blasphemy in it? And the emperor says, I'm not the emperor. I'm the god of Daleks. Anti-comic book, I'm anti-hero and hero. I'm anti, he goes, you get it? And the doctor goes, we're getting out of here. This is not worth our time. He goes, you can't you can't be anti-hero. I don't believe, especially when it's a anti-hero in a comic book. And he goes, we'll see you later. And the emperor god says, you cannot leave my presence. And they say, yeah, we can. And then the Daleks just stay there. And then they try to get rid of the doctor, but they just get on the ship. Let's see what else this says here. If anyone should shut up, it's you, 1 in a billion. Make the call. Make the cut to half human, cultivated, blessed Dalek. A doctor says, WTF belief system. Worship him, worship him, worship him. The Daleks say. He says, we're going. Yeah, then every Dalek is talking at once, doing some sort of chorus. But as the doctor closes the door of the TARDIS, he puts his head on the wall of the door and kind of listens to the chorus talking. And I don't know if it's foreshadowing or what, but he doesn't, he's not happy about it. Then, I thought that said Soothe 5 or Soothe S, but it's Linda in Satellite 5. TARDIS floats in, the doctor gives out commands. He goes, all transmissions at full power. And they go, what are you going to do? And the doctor goes, we're going to keep it, they can't transmat on board. He goes, did you let Earth know? And they said, yeah, they shut us off. The FCC took away our license because we weren't broadcasting game shows. And then the doctor sees the Linda with a Y. He says, what are you doing here? I thought everyone was getting out of here. And she goes, I didn't want to leave you. And the doctor and Linda make some serious eye contact. And he goes to shake her hand. He's like, should we hug or maybe that's later, but they almost hug, they almost kiss. And Rose looks on the whole time. And they go, yeah, by the way, we got 100 people on floor 0, including this guy, Roderick. And then they cut to Roderick. He says, I'm Roderick. I won. Where's my money? And he's totally explainer. He's like, where is my money? I won the game. Or technicality, a comic book guy from Simpsons. By the way, I'm the best, And then they say the fleet's on their way. The one of the people from the control room, whose name I forgot. So then we see let's see. 100 people on floor 0. Roderick wants his money. Fleet is moving. A Dalek Gold Kiernan sends out the fleet. Everybody says Dalek God. Send out the fleets. Doctor starts working with wires and stuff in a big fury. And he says, big mistake. He goes, they left us with one big antenna. And he goes, what do you think is going to happen if I change the signal and fold it back and sequence it? Anybody? And Jack is like, you got to be kidding me. And the doctor goes, give the man a medal. He goes, a delta wave. Then they exposition, the Van Cassadine energy. It'll get rid of all the Daleks. And they go, there's our solution. And Linda goes, get to it. And the doctor goes, it'll take me 3 days. How long have we got? And they're like 22 minutes until the, not counting commercials. And they say, oh, good gracious. The doctor pulls out a cord, smiles, there's shots of the fleet in the station. Then they have surfboards hooked up. Jack shows off the defense plan. Oh, this is all stuff coming up, or this is what these are all the next scenes. I guess they do a lot of cutting. Doctor calls Rose with shipping water. Well, yeah, so Jack explains the Delta wave. Jack explains to them, hey, we're going to stay on floor 495 or 494, and we're going to lock them out of the lower floors because they're going to try to come up. And he's like, we're going to be the ones that stop the Daleks. And they're like, there's 5 of us. And he goes, well, we'll try to get some volunteers. And then the doctor and Rose are alone, stripping wires. And Jack and the crew go off. This is when Linda and the doctor say goodbye to each other awkwardly. And they almost kiss, and then they shake hands. And Rose is like, what in the heck is going on here? And Jack says, it's been fun, people. And then he says, I guess it's goodbye. He says this to Rose because Jack knows already. And Rose goes, it's going to be fine. The doctor's going to save us. And Jack puts Rose's hand in his face, and he gives her a big kiss on the lips. And he says, you're worth fighting for. And then this is where I really love this show. Jack gives the doctor a big kiss on the lips. And I mean, holding both of them by both cheeks to their face. And he says, I wish I never met you, doctor. And he says, that was better off without you, kind of. And he gives him a nice kiss. And he says, I'll see you all in the double HEE hockey sticks or whatever, however you spell it. And Rose goes, it's going to be fine. Yeah, then we go through more scenes of Jack asking for volunteers. And Rose... I guess, this is when Rose sees them almost kissing goodbye. Good serious kisses from Jack. See ya. He's going to be okay, right? And then Jack's on floors 000, 000, asking for volunteers with gusto. And I wonder if you could guess who Roderick voted for, because he says there's no such thing as Daleks. He's a flat earther. But he's using all sorts of hashtags. He says there's no Daleks anywhere. It's made up. And I think Jack says, be quiet, dude, and keep quiet down here. And he gets one volunteer. He goes, well, by the way, you're going to find out the Daleks are real in a minute, so just be quiet. And then he says, let's go. Then we see the ships, and we see the doctor and Rose working, and something about Marbella. The doctor and Rose are just talking. And she goes, why don't you just go take the TARDIS and stop them, go back in time? And the doctor goes, I can't get in the middle of I can't go back in time and get mixed in the events. I'd be stuck in the timeline. And Rose goes, yeah, I thought that. But the doctor goes, there is one thing the TARDIS could do. It could take us away, the two of us. We could leave and we could go to Marbella in 1989. And Rose says, yeah, but you'd never do that. And the doctor goes, no, but I'd do it if you asked me. But he knows Rose is so brave. He says, you wouldn't even think of that. And Rose goes, yeah, it's I'm just like you, doctor. I'm on mission. I'm on point. And, the doctor, they have another long look at each other. You're going on a rush. What does that say? Piano music as they talk. So that was during their talk there. How long? Is it that bad? The doctor's like, how long till the Delta wave? Or somebody says that. And they say, is that going to be that bad? The doctor says the Delta wave is going to take forever. And Rose goes, that's not good. And then the doctor goes, oh, man. And then he goes, Rose, you're a genius. He goes, I got an idea. He goes, we could have the TARDIS cross the timeline and mix everything up. And Rose goes, okay, go in the TARDIS and hold that lever down. And she says, why? And he goes, it's going to cancel the buffers. Just trust me. Keep holding that. He goes, I got to get off and power the game station. And she goes, okay. And then he gets off the TARDIS, but he shuts the door. And then he turns around and he looks longingly, really long look back at the TARDIS. And then he raises his sonic screwdriver in that classic, point of view doctor pose. And he sends it off. He sends Rose and the TARDIS off. She says, Doctor, what's happening? Can I take my hand off? The TARDIS is leaving. And he keeps pointing the sonic screwdriver, and Rose tries to open the door, but she's gone. The doctor just has a determined look on his face, like just prime time acting. And then the doctor is breakfast for Rose on the TARDIS, very Princess Leia. He has like a doctor broadcast, holocaust. And he says, this is the special program, Rose. Once this is activated, it means, he goes, things aren't so hot. And I hope it was nice, but I promise to look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home. And Rose goes, no way. And he goes, yeah, I bet you're putting up a big fuss. But hold on and listen. The TARDIS can never return. He goes, I can't let it fall into enemy hands. So I think you should just let the TARDIS live out its retirement and let it gather dust. No one will be able to open it. It'll just be a strange thing on the streets. And the world will be left behind. But then the all of it makes eye contact with Rose. And he says, have a good life, Rose Tyler. Do that for me. Have a fantastic life. And Rose, then it goes off. Rose is, not happy. She starts kicking the TARDIS and says, take me back. Tries to control it. Comes out in her hood. What does that mean? Tries to get the TARDIS stanchied by banding on him. By banging on it. Tries to get started by banging on it. Then she leaves, and Mickey comes running from Clifton Parade. And he says, I heard it all the way down at Clifton Parade. Only thing that makes a noise like that. And at the end, he looks at her. Oh, have a good life. Very Princess Leia. We already covered that. Rose cries as her and Mickey hug. Then Jack is is on the ship. He says, hey, Rose, I got to talk to you. And then the doctor goes, Rose ain't here. He goes, he goes, she's using the restroom. He goes, I need the codes. Oh, he just calls. And the doctor goes, she's not here. I mean, at all. And Jack goes, what do you mean? And he goes, get to work. And Jack goes, oh, you sent her home. And he goes, okay, I get what that means. He goes, what about that Delta wave? And then the Emperor God Dalek says, tell him the truth, Doctor. He goes, the only way to work the Delta wave is to wipe out all comic books that have ever existed, which will... make your heart sad if you've ever loved a comic book all across the universe, not just with Daleks, with everybody. And he goes, the only way to save comics is to get rid of comics. Oh, the irony. Because since I've implanted a love of Daleks comics deep within the Daleks, their hearts will be a little sad. And Jack goes, I'm not sure if I cover that, but, and it goes, well, the doctor's going to get rid of all comic books, right, doctor? So does that make you a comic fan or a comic book disliker? And the doctor goes, somewhere out there's a comic book artist that'll start the next day. He goes, but I can't let the Daleks I gotta stop the Daleks when I can. I'm a Time Lord, yo. And he goes, you understand, right, Jack? He goes, he goes, what would you do? And Jack goes, maybe Rose is a comic book artist, Doctor. You send her home, get to work. And the Emperor God says, what kind of comic book fan are you, Jack? And Jack goes, the best kind, the kind that believes in the Doctor. And I think the Dalek says, does not compute. But the Doctor goes, tell me, God of Daleks, what's up with that bad wolf that's been everywhere, guiding everything? How'd you pull that off? Is that a comic book? And the Dalek says, what? Never heard of it. And the Doctor says, don't play coy. And the Emperor says, no, seriously, I don't know what you're talking about. This is the truth of God. And the Doctor says, well, he says he does another WTF. He looks at the bad wolf sign and says, that's strange. Then we see some rotisserie chicken. And Jackie's trying to be like the voice of reason. Yeah, first her and Mickey are just talking about pizza. And Mickey goes, there's no pizza place. Jackie goes, what do they serve? He goes, pizza. And she goes, do they deliver? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, Rose, eat. She goes, Rose, eat something. This is what's best. It's good. There's nothing you can do about it. And Rose goes, yeah, I can. And Jack goes, it's a different time, 2,000 years from now. It's not going to happen for 2,000 years. And Rose goes, no, it's happening right now. I understand time and space again. And Jackie goes, he did what's best, and he did what I wanted, so I'm happy. And Rose goes, how can I just go back to, taking the bus and eating pizza and going to bed? And Mickey goes, is there something wrong with just eating pizza? And Rose goes, well, Mickey goes, what do you think, you're better than us? And she goes, not like that, but, yeah. She goes, it's not about the traveling and seeing space and stuff. It's like, the Doctor showed me a new way of living life. I guess it was a better way. And she goes, you know it, Mickey, because you lived it. She goes, that you don't give up, that you don't let just things happen. You make a stand. You say no. You have the guts to do what's right when everyone else runs away. And something about rice, maybe. And it just can't. Let's see, what else? Mom's crescent moon earrings. I love Jackie's crescent moon earrings. And yeah, Rose doesn't want to go back. A better way of living life. And Rose runs out. Then Jack makes Linda his eyes and his ears. He says, Linda, you're going to watch this column. He goes, don't worry about the door. It'll keep him out, probably. And he goes, just tell me when the fleet arrives or something, or where they are on the ship. And then one of the people from the commander or whatever says, yeah, the fleet's here. And Jack goes, this is it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends beyond the binary trees and multiforms. And then we see all the Daleks coming. Let's see, the fleet arrives, Daleks out and swarm. There's some are moving in a swarm pattern and some are moving in like ones, which I said, well, that's interesting. And then Mickey's alone with Rose. He says, what about a proper life? I said, oh boy, don't start this proper life talk. Because you can't spend your life dreaming about the Doctor, when you get this. I mean, Mickey is kind of dreamy. He's got a haircut, a sweet jacket. He's likable, handsome, I would say. So he's got a nice yellow T-shirt on. I mean, he definitely got a haircut for this episode, so he looks, clean and fresh. But he goes, you got to live your own life, Rose. Life like he was a grifter. So once you start, you could have that life with me. Hintity, hint, hint, hint. And then we see a giant bad wolf and chalk, a giant chalk writing of bad wolves. Then the old spray painted bad wolves. So Rose is looking at that. And Rose goes, look at that, look at that. And Mickey goes, it's been there for years. It's just words. Rose is like, no. I thought it was a warning, but maybe it's a message. The same words all the way now until 200,000 years in the future. It's a link. Bad wolf here, bad wolf there. And Mickey goes, well, what do you think it means? And she goes, it means I can get back to help the doctor is what it means, yo. Then Jack is back on the ship pumping all the resistance up. He says, everybody get ready and follow my orders. Then Linda says they're on the ship, just like you said, Jack. And then the doctor's working. A lot of cuts. Daleks flying. Then the TARDIS, Rose is hooking up a chain to the TARDIS, and Mickey's trying to drive it. Or maybe that didn't happen yet, but she goes, I got to get this TARDIS thing open. It's got that magic light in there. And the TARDIS is telepathic. It knows that it's just putting up some resistance. And then we even see a flashback to the light. She goes, if I can open it, I can talk directly to the TARDIS and I can move it. Mickey goes, Rose, if you go back, it's going to be risky. And Rose goes, Mickey, I'm all about that risk. Haven't you watched this season? She goes, I'm a heroine for sure. And she goes, I got to go, heroines go and do positive things. So that's what I got to do. There's nothing for me here. Yeah, Mickey gets it. He goes, nothing, huh? Not even a young lad with a haircut who airs his trainers out on the roof, who has a sweet coat. And she goes, nope, nothing. And Mickey goes, okay, well, I might as well help you then. Yeah, then we have more cuts of the Dalek getting on the ship. And Jack saying, get some lasers on that. The lasers don't work. Power's out. People will say, hey, Jack, your plan's not working. Then we see Mickey trying to open, he's got a Mini Cooper. What does it say? Internal lasers offline, matrix of the Daleks. Yeah, and they say your plan's not working. Mickey's Mini Cooper has front wheel drive. He tries to pull the thing open. And there's a lot of steam or whatever. He's burning rubber. But it doesn't work. Rose kicks the TARDIS. Then we're on 495. And Jack's like, I love 495. And the android takes out one TARDIS Dalek. And then she gets taken out. And everybody's like, oh boy, that's not good. Because then there's plenty more Daleks. But she does say, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. And I mean, it's just like I think it was just a little relief, because then they say, go on to the next level. And then Linda says, they're going up. No, wait, they're going down. They're going everywhere, up and down. And then the Daleks land on floor 0. They say, hey, did you all doubt that there was Daleks? You don't exist. That's what Roderick says. I'm a winner. And they say, no, you're not. You are the weakest link. And Linda does not like any of this. Who would? And we see Rose sitting in a chair. She's staring off, but Jackie's on the TARDIS with her, trying to talk reason. And by talk reason, I say, she says, it's never going to work, sweetheart. Your dreams are too big. Your doctor wants you here eating pizza with me and Mickey, or Mickey and I. And she goes, lock the door. And Rose goes, I can't give up, neither would Dad. Jackie goes, what are you talking about? And she goes, your dad was totally a quitter. And she goes, Dad's wasn't a quitter. I actually met him. And Jackie goes, no, you didn't. She goes, yes, I did. And then there's tears. She goes, yeah, I did. Really, Mom, I was there. The day with the birds and the wedding. And you saw me. And so then there's lots of tears. And they say, you saw, and Jackie goes, okay. And she goes, the doctor brought me back to say goodbye. That's how good a person doctor is. And there's piano. That's a piano music moment. I mean, who would doubt that, And Jackie runs off of the TARDIS. Then we see, let's see. space. We see the UFOs going to Earth, and they say Earth out. That's what Linda says. Earth is out. All comics on Earth gone. Then the Big Daddy Dalek says, "This is pet tricking." Let's see. He goes, "This is perfection, heaven on Earth. No comics on Earth at all." Then Jack shows up in 499. He goes, "This is it, Custer's last stand." He goes, "This is totally going to work." And so then the guy from the control room finally asks his coworker out, and she goes, "Dude, what the heck? By the way, I'm not into you, but you asking me out for a drink now? We're about to deal with Daleks and the end of all comic books." And they kind of have a laugh because they're saying it in jest, kind of, the humor to. Then we see Mickey and Rose is like, "I still want to try something, but I don't know what we're going to do." And Mickey goes, "We need something bigger." And then Jackie rolls up, because even Mickey's like, "You're not going to quit. We're going to do this." And then Jackie pulls up in a tow truck. She's like, "I only got this till 6 p.m. And Rose goes, "How?" She goes, "Rodrigo owed me a favor, so get on with it." Then we're back on floor 499. The Daleks show up. We see the doctor's still working. We see a showdown on floor 499. They say, "This isn't working." And they say, "You got to get rid of the eye stalks." And the one Dalek says, "My vision is impaired. That's the best a human can do. I won't be able to see any comics when I get rid of them." Then we see Linda with a Y. She gets detected they say, "Hey, we detected you," the Daleks. The doctor says, "You got meteorite protection, so don't worry." And the Daleks say, "Hey, never mind. We'll come through the window and visit you." And blink, blink. That's it for that. Then we see Jack on the run. He's kind of full of drama and flair. And he says, "Come on, doctor, finish that thing." Then we see a big tow truck moment. And this one, you got to read the dialogue. Holy subtext. I didn't even realize it till like the third time I watched it. I'll just read through it in a slow way. But you could obviously, and this is funny because Jackie's there and Mickey's there and Rose is there. So I kind of like pictured it like Jackie's kind of she's like an instructor for Rose and Mickey. So it goes, Rose says, "Keep going." And Jackie says, "Put your foot down." And then Rose says, "Faster." And then Jackie says, "Give it some more, Mickey." And Mickey's really working hard with the tow truck, giving it all he has. And then Rose says, "Keep going." These are all with exclamation points. And then Jackie says, "Come on, come on." And then even more, Mickey's putting in even more effort. And then Rose says, "Keep going, exclamation point." And then Jackie says, "Give it some more, exclamation point." And I said, "Oh, I really, like I said, am I like, did I just get covered in a sheen of sweat instantly?" But it works. Mickey's like making all sorts of faces, clearly. Then there's a breeze. Then there's a bright light coming with the TARDIS. At least the TARDIS got there because the TARDIS opens up a bright light. Rose looks into the bright light. She stares into it. TARDIS starts moving. Yeah, she gets enveloped in wind. Light goes into her eyes. She gets TARDIS vision. Just like double vision, but TARDIS vision. And then the TARDIS heads off. Then Jack, let's see what happens with Jack. Mickey and Mickey and Jack are like, "What?" Yeah, then Jack is in the middle of his last stand. And they say, the Daleks have him. They say, "We consider you a comic book character, actually." So, obviously, and he says, "Well, I kind of figured that." And they say, "Well, they send him to the comic book heap, I guess." And then the doctor's like, "Hey, it's ready." And then he gets surrounded by Daleks. And the doctor's like, I'm going to do the Delta Wave. You really want to test me? And the Emperor's like, you're going to get rid of all the comics in the world. Just that's really the great doctor. Comic, get a ridder. And the Emperor Doc says, what are you, doctor? Anti-comics or saving comics? And how are you going to do it? And then the doctor says, I guess I'm for comics, even if that makes me anti-comics. And the Emperor Dalek says, yep, nice job. He's not nice, this Emperor Dalek. And the doctor says, what about me? And he says, you're a heathen. You're a comic book. You're a hero and an anti-hero. So we're going to we're going to put you with all the comic books, which is nowhere. And there's like choir music this whole time. Very, what does this say? Prive-like. I don't know what that means. Priv-like. Prune-like? I don't know. But then we hear the TARDIS as a doctor, he says, maybe it's time. The TARDIS then the TARDIS starts to materialize. And the Emperor says, you're not going to run. And then Super Rose, actual superhero, a heroine or whatever, she steps out like half TARDIS, half Rose, Glow Pro power. And the doctor's like, what? And the doctor says, what have you done? And Rose goes, I looked into the TARDIS and the TARDIS looked into me. And he goes, it's a time vortex. You can't look in there. And the Emperor Dalek says, this is an abomination. And Rose goes, she starts they all try to get rid of her or whatever. And she just does what's his name? A Neo style move. And Rose goes, I'm the bad wolf. I create myself. I take the words and scatter them in time and space, and send myself a message. And she sends the letters of bad wolf off. And she goes, oh, no, the doctor says, Rose, you can't save everything. It's too high a cost. And she's just ignoring him. He says, you're all vortex. And Rose goes, I'm here to keep you safe, doctor. Protect you from the false god, my doctor. And the Emperor Dalek says, you can't mess with me. I'm immortal. And Rose just goes, yeah, you're tiny. I see all of time and space, every single atom. And now I'm going to divide the atoms straight into dust. And then she turns all the Daleks into dust. She goes, Time War's over, by the way. That's it. The Big Daddy Dalek clearly is not happy about any of this before turning to dust. And then Rose, after victory, she's like, the doctor's like, Rose, you got to let the power go. You've done it. And, this is kind of like your Jean Grey situation. Rose goes, how can I let this power go? And I have all of life. And he goes, no, it's not. He goes, you can't just control all this stuff. And she goes, but I can. The sun, the moon, the day, the night. And the doctor says, it's too much power. And she goes, I can see everything. And her face is golden but tear-streaked. She goes, all that was, all that is, all that ever could be. And she brings Jack back from the comic book land. And the doctor goes, that's what I see all the time. All that was, all that ever could be. He goes, doesn't it drive you? He goes, it weighs on you. Rose goes, yeah, I have a headache, actually. Yeah. And then he says, here, give me a hug. And Rose goes, she goes, my head. The doctor goes, come here. She goes, it's kidding me. Then the doctor goes, I think you need a doctor. And I thought that was like, I don't know how she says, I have a headache. And then the doctor says, come here, you. And he goes, I think you need a doctor. But it was cute. And then he holds her and she kind of falls asleep. There's more of this chanting music, like, kind. And he lies her down in the TARDIS. Or no, he lies her down. He takes her TARDIS eyes from her. Yeah, and then the power goes back into the TARDIS. So he takes the power out of her and then sends it back into the TARDIS or something. Jack wakes up and wanders around. Let's see. TARDIS starts moving again. Yeah, and the doctor and Rose are on the TARDIS. And Rose is waking up, she's like, the doctor's checking on her. She wakes up. Oh, then Jack wakes up. Jack, when he wakes up, he touches the dust from the Daleks, the Dalek dust. Breathes, WTF. What is this? Doctor drives, and then Rose wakes up. Something like that. So something happens. Like Rose wakes up in the TARDIS. Doctor's breathing, of course. And Rose goes, what happened? The doctor goes, don't you remember? And Rose goes, I heard some chanting, like singing. And he goes, yeah, I sang a song, and the Daleks ran away. And Rose goes, no, I was at home. And then I was in the TARDIS. I can't remember. And the doctor goes, huh. And he kind of looks at her. And Rose is like, I think the doctor kissed her. Was that before or after? Doctor catches. No, I think it's still coming. A big daft. Doctor drives Rose. Maybe he kissed her to take away her power, but he gave her, at some point, he gave her a big kiss. That's kind of anticlimactic, but I guess maybe, yeah, when he says, I think you need a doctor, he gives her actually a real kiss, a full, loving, passionate kiss. But then Rose doesn't remember it, she says, what I don't recall. And the doctor's uneasy. Then he's like, hey, Rose, we're going to go to Barcelona, not the city of Barcelona, the planet. You're going to love it. They got dogs with no noses. And he goes, this is going to be fantastic. And then he looks at his hand, which is still glowing. And he goes, how many times can you tell that joke in a day? And it's still funny. And then something weird happens. And because the doctor's like, no, Rose says, you're talking nonsense, dude. And the doctor says, oh, tummy ache. And he says, he goes, I may never make sense again. And he goes, oh, yeah, tummy ache from TARDIS power. And Rose goes, doctor, he goes, you can't get close to me. I'm full of TARDIS light. And she goes, what's going on? He goes, I'm full of time vortex. And no one's meant to do that. He goes, it's doctor overwhelm. I need to D-Time Lord and Retime Lord. And he goes, it's this little trick, but it means I'm going to change. And Rose goes, what? And he goes, and I'm not going to be able to see you again. Not like this, not with this daft old face. And he goes, before I go, and Rose goes, you're not going anywhere. Don't say that. And the doctor goes, Rose. And he gives her this big smile. He goes, before I go, I want to tell you, you were fantastic. And he grins and grins. He goes, absolutely fantastic. And he goes, and you know what? Rose is like still upset, clearly, but also kind of like, what's happening? And the doctor says, and you know what? So was I. And then it's a full TARDIS blast for the doctor. And not only is he like full of TARDIS power, it washes the old doctor away. Like kind of like what do you call that? Like apricot scrub or something. And as he's like maybe putting on one of those volcanic masks or avocado mask or something, but it changes even his hair. All of a sudden his hair becomes this really full, stylish head of hair, which I was like, man, that is like Adam Scott level hair. And then his face changes, and it's like this young doctor. I think I don't know. I don't know my doctors from my dancing, but he looks good. And he says, then a new doctor's there, and he says, hello, okay. And he kind of feels himself, the doctor, and he goes, new teeth, that's weird. So he goes, what was I talking about, Barcelona? And Rose is kind of staring at him like, holy, this is beyond, I don't even know, like, this isn't a W. She goes, I don't know what to TF this because it's not a WTF. It's beyond that. And he gives a big smile, and the episode and the season come to a close. So thanks for being along for this journey, and good night. I want to thank everybody that reviewed the show over on Apple Podcasts. Cat at the Box says, I can't tell you what this podcast is about, but I love it. Shrug emoji. I was a bit unsure when I listened the first time, but quickly understood this podcast is amazing. Changed my inability to sleep drastically. In addition to getting sleep, I no longer lay awake thinking about stuff and physical and mental, things, patterns. I would tell you more about the actual podcast content, but I'm asleep. Thanks. 12 Spies from Israel says, one of the greatest podcasts of all time. Highly recommended to anyone to give it a try. Buffalo Nick, who's a Nana Cherry fan because he's always in the Buffalo stance. Brilliant and caring. I have no idea why this podcast works. It's just fabulous. Earlier podcasts have a more staccato feel to them. And the later ones are a bit more fluid. Regardless, all work well. Aaron in Edmonton, for Canada, says, helped with my insomnia. My year-old has insomnia and won't fall asleep till 2 a.m. I tried everything. And it was surprising that this worked. I've always had trouble, too, with playing a TV. If someone shut it off, it would wake me up. The ability to switch over to listening to this and no longer have a TV on. I love how weird the podcast is to laugh and fall asleep. Celine in BC in Canada. I'm not sure I don't think this is Celine Dion, though that'd be pretty sweet. Podcast has become Pavlovian to me. I'm out by the time the opening music plays. It's science. 62. Amazing. It sends me straight to sleep and really enjoy it. Jennifer says, finally falling asleep. We got this from the MFM, lovely ladies. Don't remember any episodes. I can't remember much. I used it multiple times and started falling asleep to sleep with me, and I barely wake up. Love this podcast. Joe says, Get Bessos is my all-time favorite. Podcast helped me for so long, I can't imagine what I'd do without it. Insomnia, sometimes up until 2, sometimes till 4. But when I can't sleep, Scooter's voice gives me something to focus on and feel less alone. And it can help with my impatience to get to sleep. That's a nice thing. Yeah, I know what that's like. Because it gives me something to focus on. I highly recommend it. KV from Australia, the best. Helps me not focus on physical pain, waiting for the meds to kick in. Your voice is like an old friend. Lore B to the SCR, long-time listener since 2014. With few exceptions, I don't go to sleep without it. Thanks, Scooter. Thanks, Laura. CB Cam from Canada. Z's, I fell asleep smiling, rambling, suitable listen. Helps quiet my thoughts. And Cater Bear says, I have a weird sleep pattern, and for some reason this odd podcast works, or for some odd reason this podcast works. Deal with depression, turn to cause me to have trouble sleeping, but in the first 10 minutes of the podcast, I'm out. It's nice because I tend to wake up in the middle of the night and turn the podcast on. And I recommend this for all insomniacs. Tired of pills works so well. I'm thankful to have found it. Thanks to all that make the show. And thanks to you, Cater Bear. And thanks to everybody for reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts. Good night.